At 28, Amanda Blackburn was known for finding beauty where others saw only rubbish. Around Indianapolis, she visited garage sales, searching for pieces most people called junk old dressers, cracked tables, worn chairs. She would load them into her car, bring them home to her garden, and turn them into something lovely. That work became her business, Weathered Willow. Yet it also reflected a deeper belief. Her father, Phil, put it this way: God turns trash into treasure. Nothing is wasted. Amanda applied that view to furniture and to people as well. According to her husband, Davy, she recognized potential in others that they often missed in themselves. Friends said she loved those who felt unlovable and offered hope to the hopeless, and that she seemed to have no enemies at all. Amanda Grace Byers entered the world on the 31st of July, 1987, in Muskegon, Michigan. It was how she looked at life. She grew up in Elkhart, Indiana, alongside 4 adopted siblings after her parents, Phil and Robin Byers, moved there when she was 8. Phil served as a pastor at First Baptist Church in Elkhart, and faith shaped the family's daily life. Amanda finished Elkhart Christian Academy in 2006, then attended Pensacola Christian College in Florida, earning an associate's degree in 2008. She began teaching kindergarten at Promise Academy in Nashville before moving to St. Mary's Episcopal School in Memphis, one of Tennessee's premier all-girls schools. Her work and her students delighted her. In classroom videos she created, a warm, nurturing presence could be felt. She later met Davy Blackburn on a blind date at a Hawk Nelson concert. During a light-hearted milkshake contest that evening, she laughed so hard a sip came out through her nose, a moment Davy would recall from the pulpit as the instant he knew he had found the woman he would marry. They were married on the 1st of August, 2008, and their relationship was marked by openness and honesty. In church videos recorded just a month before Amanda's death, the couple discussed the real challenges young marriages often face, including abuse, intimacy. Amanda spoke with candor and conviction. Abuse intimacy is so important in a marriage, and the devil will do whatever he can to pull you away from it. Together, they talked about keeping their relationship strong through intentional date nights and communication. In January 2012, Amanda and Davy followed what they believed to be a divine calling. They moved to Indianapolis to plant a life-giving church, which they named Resonate Church. Starting with roughly 150 members, their mission focused on reaching people who typically felt disconnected from organized religion. Amanda poured her energy into every aspect of the work and became deeply involved in the 4Indy movement, dedicated to transforming Indianapolis through faith and community action. By November 2015, their family had blossomed. Their son, Weston, was 15 months old, and Amanda was expecting their second child, a daughter they had already named Evie Grace. She was about 12 to 13 weeks along. On the 9th of November 2015, Amanda spent the day with her sister, Amber, at the park near Trader Point Christian Church, watching their children play together, a peaceful moment in a life built on love, faith, and purpose. They spent the afternoon laughing and talking, a memory Amber later recalled as simply having so much fun while the kids played together. Neither sister knew it would be the last time they saw each other alive. Before dawn, on the 10th of November, 2015, around 4:30 a.m., 3 people were already awake. 1 8-year-old Larry Joe Taylor Jr., 2 1-year-old Jalen Watson, and 2 4-year-old Diana Gordon. They referred to themselves as the Kill Gang. Each had a lengthy record, each was on parole, and they shared an apartment at Westlake on Indianapolis's west side. For days, they had been on a crime spree. A week earlier, on November 3 around 10 p.m., Taylor and Watson forced their way into a 2 1-year-old woman's unit at Westlake. She was showering when the bathroom light went out. Peeking past the curtain, she saw a man aiming a gun at her. Taylor pressed the weapon to the back of her neck while the intruders demanded cash and the location of her bank cards. As Watson ransacked the rooms for valuables, Taylor assaulted her in the bathroom. Watson reportedly urged Taylor to stop, saying that was not their purpose. The intruders took her cell phone, laptop, television, jewelry, headphones, purse, and her 2007 Chrysler Sebring before fleeing in a panic. The following day, November 4, Taylor was said to have shot and killed Rolando Gonzalez Hernandez at the La Jolla Apartments during an attempted robbery. The victim had only $10. Taylor fired a round into his head, and 3 witnesses later told police he had personally admitted to the robbery and shooting at that complex. By the morning of November 10, they were out hunting again. Around 4:30 a.m., their first target was a home in the cottages of Full Creek on the 570 block of San Clemente Drive on Indianapolis's east side. While a resident slept, the trio entered through a patio door and proceeded to steal a laptop, purse, iPhone, car keys, credit cards, a computer, a cell phone, and a silver Chrysler Sebring. There was, however, a problem. A motion-activated security camera had already recorded clear images of all 3 suspects before they disconnected the device. Taylor intended to kill the sleeping resident because he knew the camera had recorded him, but Watson and Gordon talked him down. At 5:23 a.m., the first victim called 911 to report the burglary. By 5:36 a.m., the trio struck again, this time at 2830 Sunnyfield Court on Indianapolis's northwest side. They disabled a security camera and entered through a patio window. Inside, they took 3 or 4 televisions, a laptop, jewelry, a bag of oranges, bed sheets, and a pink sweater. They drank beer and wine from the kitchen, then loaded the televisions into the trunk of the stolen Sebring. They slipped out into the pre-dawn streets. Court records note they decided they wanted more money. On the same street stood Amanda and Davy Blackburn's home, directly opposite the unit they had just burglarized. Around 6 a.m., Davy left their house listed as 2826 Sunnyfield Court after waking at 4:30 to read his Bible, heading to LA Fitness for roughly an hour. He left the front door unlocked because the only house key was on Amanda's keyring. It seemed a small detail, but it would prove catastrophic. At 6:11 a.m., surveillance captured Davy driving away. Moments later, Taylor saw him leave and selected the Blackburn residence as the next target. All 3 entered through the unlocked door. Inside, they encountered Amanda, and Taylor struck her in the mouth with his .38 caliber revolver. The strike knocked out one of her lower front teeth. He took her ATM cards and handed them to Watson and Gordon, who drove off in the stolen Sebring to get cash. Taylor stayed in the house with Amanda. At 6:25 a.m., cell site records placed the suspects' phones on Sunnyfield Court. By 6:36 a.m., Watson and Gordon had reached a Chase ATM on North Michigan Road and tried to withdraw $500 with Amanda's card. The attempt failed. An ATM receipt bearing that time was later recovered from the stolen car. Back at the house, Taylor phoned the pair, shouting that they were taking too long. He then supplied the correct PIN for the account. Watson later testified about what followed. Taylor said he tried to force Amanda into sex. When she refused and rushed toward him, he fired once into her upper body to avoid being scratched. As she lay wounded, he shot her again, this time in the back of the head. Witness accounts indicated he then leaned in, looked at her face, and watched as she bled. Around 6:45 a.m., a neighbor reported hearing sounds consistent with gunfire. At 6:54 a.m., Watson and Gordon were recorded at a different Chase ATM on West 86th Street, continuing efforts to pull money using her card while Taylor remained at the Blackburn home. They managed to withdraw $400. To avoid the cameras, Watson wrapped the stolen pink sweater around his face, a choice that would later undermine their case. 9 minutes after the cash-out, a witness saw a man dressed in black walking down the street while talking on his phone. At 7:10 a.m., surveillance recorded a male leaving the Blackburn neighborhood. He moved along the street in a hooded sweatshirt, the drawstrings cinched tight to hide his face. Watson and Gordon then returned to the subdivision to pick up Taylor. As he got into the car, he told them, in street slang, that he had smoked her, meaning he had killed her. At the same time, at 7:10 a.m., Davy Blackburn left the gym and called a friend as he drove. When he pulled into the driveway at 7:30 a.m., he remained in the car on that call for roughly 40 to 50 minutes, not wanting to wake his pregnant wife and their toddler son. At 7:53 a.m., Chase Bank left a voicemail on Amanda's phone about suspected unauthorized ATM activity. At 8:17 a.m., the neighbor at 2830 Sunnyfield Court discovered their home had been burglarized and phoned the police. 3 minutes later, Davy went inside his own house. What he found was devastating. Amanda was face down, naked from the waist down, lying in a pool of blood near the fireplace in the Christmas tree. Her underwear lay beside her. Her shirt had been pulled upward, as if someone had tried to remove it. Credit cards and her wallet were scattered on the floor nearby. A decorative ladder and a lamp had been knocked over, adding to the grim scene of violence and chaos. A Swisser Sweet cigar package lay on the kitchen counter, something Davy confirmed did not belong in their home. Upstairs, their 5-month-old son, Weston, was safe in his crib. At 8:22 a.m., Davy placed a 911 call. Amanda was unresponsive, unconscious, and bleeding from gunshot wounds. At 8:30 a.m., medics were dispatched, and upon seeing the severity of her injuries, they immediately requested police backup. At 8:44 a.m., Officers Richard Crosby and Larry Crow arrived on scene and began securing the area. Amanda was then transported to Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital and placed on a ventilator in critical condition. At 9:01 a.m., Detective Pete Perkins was sent to Methodist to interview Davy about the timeline and circumstances leading up to the discovery. On the 11th of November, 2015, Amanda Blackburn died at Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital, approximately 24 hours after the attack. Both Amanda and her unborn daughter, Evie Grace, were pronounced dead on November 12. The Marion County Coroner's Office conducted the autopsy, which was performed by Dr. Ellen Clark, the county medical examiner. Examination findings documented 3 gunshot wounds, 1 to the back of the head, the fatal injury, 1 to the lower left forearm that tracked upward into the biceps, and a through-and-through wound that entered and exited the upper left back. There were scratches on her left cheek, a split lip, and a missing lower front tooth, consistent with a blow from the gun. The fatal injury was a gunshot to the back of her head. The death was ruled a homicide, even though she was found partially undressed with indications of abuse assault. Prosecutors later said the evidence did not meet the threshold for filing abuse assault charges in Amanda's case. Although Taylor's statements to his accomplices suggested he tried to assault her before the shooting, investigators processed the Blackburn home twice, on November 10 and 11, to ensure thoroughness. They collected a Swisher Sweets cigar package, blood stains, and other forensic samples. Evidence technicians also photographed the scene and documented damage throughout the house. Detectives quickly cleared Davy Blackburn. Surveillance from LA Fitness confirmed his alibi. Phone records matched the timeline, and nothing connected him to the crime. Investigators emphasized the timeline. On November 11, at about 10:30 p.m., the silver Chrysler Sebring, stolen the previous morning, was found on Rockwood Avenue, roughly 7 miles from the Blackburn residence. Inside, officers recovered key items: the pink sweater, bed sheets, a bag of oranges, an AT&T U-verse remote, and several ATM receipts, including one reflecting the denied $500 withdrawal at 6:36 a.m. On the 13th of November 2015, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department held a major press conference, releasing surveillance images that showed a suspect leaving the neighborhood. Police Captain Craig Converse said investigators believed they knew who killed Amanda. They had an image of the suspect but still lacked his name. Assistant Commander Eric Hench publicly warned the killer, saying he was not as clever as he imagined, that he had left evidence and that detectives had found it. He vowed they would keep pursuing him until he was caught. Chief Rick Height echoed the message, noting that officers were on their way. The breakthrough arrived through DNA. The pink sweater recovered from the stolen Chrysler Sebring, used by one intruder to mask his face during ATM withdrawals, was processed through CODIS and matched to Jalen Watson. Marion County prosecutor Terry Curry called it the first major break in the case. Cell site data then mapped Watson's phone from the initial East Side burglary to Sunnyfield Court at 6:25 a.m. and later to two Chase Bank ATMs at 6:36 a.m. and 6:54 a.m. During those ATM runs, Diana Gordon's phone dialed an unknown number on Sunnyfield Court. Investigators traced that number through Backpage ads to Larry Taylor. The denied $500 attempt at 6:36 a.m., followed by the successful $400 withdrawal at 6:54 a.m., created a precise, corroborated sequence of events, an evidentiary timeline investigators deemed irrefutable, beyond dispute. Detectives traced property from the November 3 assault to buyers near 56th Street, where photo arrays led those buyers to identify Watson and Taylor. On November 19, the 10th day of the investigation, all three were taken into custody, and DNA swabs were collected. Watson and Gordon were held on parole violations. Taylor was questioned and then released. During interviews, Watson and Gordon admitted to the burglaries and named Taylor as the shooter, recounting his statements that he had smoked her and watched her bleed. Taylor waived his Miranda rights, saying he had been looking for someone called Cheese and was too messed up to remember. On November 22 and 23, DNA confirmations arrived. Watson's profile matched the pink sweater. Together with cell site records and witness accounts, prosecutors believed the case had reached charging strength. On Sunday night, November 22, the Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department's Violent Crimes and Gang Units with U.S. Marshals arrested Taylor at a relative's home on Meridian Street. The next day, November 23, Prosecutor Terry Curry announced that formal charges would be filed. Taylor and Watson were formally charged with murder, while Gordon, though arrested on a parole violation, was not initially charged since he had not entered the Blackburn residence. Prosecutor Terry Curry stated, "I don't believe any of the victims were specifically targeted. They were random victims of extremely violent crimes. Amanda was tragically in the wrong place at the wrong time, home alone when three men decided they wanted more money after their second burglary. The Indianapolis community united in support of the Blackburn family. Within just 13 days, the case had been solved, thanks to relentless work from detectives who reportedly went days without sleep." Amanda's father, Phil Byers, told reporters, "She's the love of my life. She gave her entire self to God without apology. I want to be like that. I want to be more like Amanda." She was laid to rest at Hamilton Memorial Park in Noblesville, buried beside her unborn daughter, Evie Grace Blackburn. Following the arrests, Davy Blackburn released a statement of grace and strength. "Though everything in me wants to hate, be angry, and fall into despair, I choose the path of forgiveness, grace, and hope. If there's one thing I learned from Amanda in our 10 years together, it's this: letting emotions control decisions leads only to hopelessness. Today, I'm choosing to love, not hate." Watson and Gordon later accepted plea deals, admitting guilt to robbery and burglary in exchange for their testimony against Taylor. Taylor's prosecution stretched over years, with 2 mistrials before a bench trial. Watson and Gordon testified that Taylor stayed with Amanda while they went to ATMs. When they returned, he said, "I smoked her. They said he tried to force sex on her, and when she resisted, shot her." Davy recounted leaving the door unlocked, talking on his phone in the driveway, and finding her face down. Taylor was convicted and sentenced to 86 years. Davy said he lost his rock, his best friend, and his first love. Amanda's family offered forgiveness. Taylor pleaded guilty to the earlier abuse, adding 20 years for a total of 106. His appeal was denied, and he is held at Miami Correctional Facility. Watson got 10 years plus 5 of home detention and is released. Gordon got 30 years, 25 inches prison, and 5 on probation, apologized to Davy, and remains incarcerated. 2 days after Amanda's death, Davy registered nothingiswasted.net. On the 1st of February 2016, he registered Nothing Is Wasted Serendipity LLC. In April 2016, he sold the family home for $145,000. In March 2016, he purchased a larger home, 5,186 square feet, with a pool under the business name NIW Serendipity LLC. In September 2016, 11 months after Amanda's death, Davey met Christy Monroy at LA Fitness, the same gym he had visited the morning Amanda was killed. Christy was a single mother with a daughter, Natalia. They began dating after the 1-year anniversary of Amanda's passing. Remarkably, Christy's stepfather served as a chaplain in the Marion County prison system and had spoken with Amanda's killers, creating an unexpected link to the tragedy. Davey later reflected, "How kind is it of God that out of 7 billion people, he would write something so personal to me." On the 17th of December, 2017, about 2 years after Amanda's death, Davey married Christy in a ceremony at Laurel Hall in Indianapolis with the blessing of Amanda's family. Their blended family grew to include Natalia, Weston, and Cohen, along with a son Davey and Christy welcomed together. In January 2018, Davey resigned from Resonate Church to focus on the Nothing Is Wasted ministry. 1 week later, in January 2019, Resonate Church closed. The church carried $73,000 in debt and had only $38,000 in cash. Approximately 75 people attended the final meeting, and many expressed anger about financial management. Interim Pastor John Barry acknowledged, "We were not good stewards of what we had. Attendance had dwindled over the previous months. No claims of embezzlement emerged, though leaders acknowledged poor financial stewardship." Davey later disclosed that he knew the church would close before he resigned, a fact he did not share with congregants. With Christy, he then founded Nothing Is Wasted Ministries to serve people facing trauma, tragedy, and major life transitions. The ministry offers podcasts, classes, and retreats. He has appeared on national programs, including Good Morning America, Inside Edition, and Investigation Discoveries on the Case with Paula Zahn. In July 2024, he released a book, Nothing Is Wasted, a true story of hope, forgiveness, and finding purpose in pain. Although the manuscript was finished in 2017, publication was delayed until all trials had concluded. Public response has not been uniformly supportive. From the outset, online speculation swirled around Davey. Commenters questioned the unlocked door and his remaining in the driveway for 40 to 50 minutes before entering the house. Some viewers described his calm interview demeanor as unsettling, while others pointed to the speed he engaged the media. Live tweeting Amanda's funeral under the hashtag #NothingIsWasted drew sharp criticism. Registering a web domain 2 days after her death raised further questions. Forming an LLC 2.5 months later struck some as calculated. His remarriage 2 years after Amanda's death felt too soon for certain observers. Meeting his new wife at the same gym he had visited the morning of the murder also seemed suspicious to some. Online sleuths examined everything, the regular routine, the gym alibi that appeared too neat, and church videos where the couple discussed their relationship and intimacy only a month before she died. Others viewed the later book and ministry as profiting from loss. Yet each suspicion was conclusively disproved. LA Fitness surveillance offered time-stamped proof of his movements. Phone records confirmed the entire timeline. Cell tower data placed him away from the crime scene. There was no evident motive. The marriage was loving. A second child was on the way. Investigators emphasized these corroborated findings repeatedly. Most importantly, the shooter's own statements never implicated Davey. Records showed the trio on a random crime spree, and the timeline made Davey's involvement physically impossible. IMPD cleared him within days using surveillance video and phone records, yet online communities kept raising doubts. Investigators emphasized that every corroborated fact supported his innocence. Amanda Blackburn was 28, a kindergarten teacher, wife, and mother, someone who found beauty in broken things and believed nothing was wasted. On the morning of the 10th of November 2015, 3 intruders shattered that world. Her family remembered a smile that radiated happiness, energy, and comfort. She meant many things to many people, and countless lives feel dimmer without her light. Amanda Grace Blackburn was taken far too soon, and she will not be forgotten.